Good morning, America. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lorraine Galvis. I am a business and trademark attorney by trade, but I'm also a first-generation Latina in this country. My parents came to the United States when they were in their early teens, in the late 60s and early 70s. And I've lived in New York City most of my life. I am currently in New London, Connecticut, because my husband is active duty enlisted member of the Coast Guard. The reason he enlisted in the service was because he lost his job after COVID. We were completely without options for him as a musician as far as work. And of all the options we explored, we discovered that the military obviously had several bands, and he thought, why not audition, see what happens? Steady pay, salary, benefits, health insurance for he and I. And that's what we did. And he decided to serve his country in order to save our family. At the same time that COVID hit, I was battling breast cancer for the second time. But when I got sick, it was the first time in my life that I was not able to work and support myself. Literally 5 treatments into my chemo regimen, I got COVID. As you can imagine, I was in no position to do legal work or help anybody with their problems because I was trying to figure out how to save my life and how to stay there for my son and stay alive for my son and work and help my husband so that we could move forward and come out of this very difficult time, which was insanely difficult for a lot of Americans. For many of us who have licensed professions and, have been in school for many years, we have a lot of loans. We have a lot of student debt from school. And we also have maybe started families. We're looking to buy homes. We're looking to set ourselves up, right? We've spent maybe the first 20 years of our life in school, studying, working, not sleeping. And now a lot of us are still not sleeping, still working hard, but it's also because we're parents and we're trying to pay our bills. Entrepreneurship is hard, and I am an entrepreneur at heart. And I've been in business for myself in several ways. And the most current way is owning a law firm. But with that, what keeps me up at night is thinking of how I'm going to build my wealth for myself, for my family. Am I going to be able to retire comfortably and happily and not have to worry about my money running out? Let me quickly just mention what I want to talk about on this initial show, because this is really important. And the reason I think I chose to start talking about it today is because it's all over the news that student loan interest is going to start up again this Friday, right? So today is Wednesday, August 30th. And student loan interest is going to start accumulating again for all of us who have borrowed student loans to go to grad school, like me, right? I have Grad Plus loans. I have Stafford loans. What I want to focus on, the student loan interest kicking in again on Friday. And it's very scary because, we've had zero interest for the pandemic under the CARES Act. I know many of you are not interested in paying student loans, or it doesn't make sense for you financially to make any payments at this time because of our accounts have been in forbearance. But there are a few out there, some of you that are like me, that, student loans still doesn't let me sleep at night. And the amount that I owe doesn't let me sleep at night. I'm not okay with debt. And I know that there are opportunities and in situations where debt makes a lot of sense. And I listen to a lot of, financial leaders, and I respect all of their wisdom and their knowledge. But I have to admit, in my heart of hearts, and maybe because of the way I was raised and some of the cultural mindsets belonging to my parents who came here with nothing, but I just don't do well with debt. It bothers me. It sickens me to my core. And, justifiably, this is debt that I agreed to take on, right? When I was going to law school, I sat for the financial literacy session, which was probably an hour. I don't really remember, but I agreed to borrow this money. Right, folks? We were given an agreement. We were given a loan agreement, and we read the agreement. And maybe we didn't really think about it at the time, right? We're just excited about going to law school and becoming lawyers. And this was the goal. The goal was to just study, graduate. I'll get a job. I'll worry about it later. I didn't see the pandemic initially as an opportunity or the forbearance on student loans. Initially, I didn't see that as an opportunity to pay back my loans. But in hindsight, I was going through chemo. I did have breast cancer. I was just trying to survive. So I'm not judging, and I want to be very clear out there with what I'm saying today. I'm not judging any of you. I'm not saying anything about anybody. I know nowadays you can barely say a thing without getting judged or canceled, but I am just talking about myself and my experience and what I am hoping to transmit to you if anyone is in a similarly situated position or feels the way that I feel. This is just me and you having a conversation about the issues. And my goal during this pause has been to get and cut through the accumulated interest on my loans as quickly as possible so that I can start making payments toward my principal and eliminate this debt once and for all. Interest will kick in again for the first time since March 2020. I'm reading this on Forbes.com. This came through a Google alert in my inbox. And of course, I keep an eye on these things because they're important to me. So starting Friday, September 1st, we will begin accruing interest again on our loans, right? Now, what does that mean? For example, before the pandemic, I owed about $227,000 in student loan debt. Between 2021 and 2022, I started making these payments toward my student loans. The highest interest rate on my loans is 7.9%. My loans are already reflecting this interest rate. And I am in the pay plan under income-based repayment. These loans are unsubsidized. So for example, let's just go to the first one in group AA. The principal balance on this loan is $10,684.37. My repayment plan is the pay-as-you-earn repayment plan. Accrued interest on that loan is $4,372.06. Outstanding balance on this one loan, $15,056.43. What does that mean, folks? It means that the interest on this loan is going to continue to accumulate. And before I can send a payment to that principal, to the $10,000 that I owe, first I have to pay the $4,372 that the Department of Education wants me to pay them. I got to pay them their interest before I can pay down the amount that I borrowed. So this is what my friends in politics and finances like to call predatory lending. In Spanish, we call these prestamistas, which is Spanish for loan sharks, but only that the loan shark in this case is the federal government. That's just how I feel. And that's why I think it's important for me to make this video, because I don't think that the answer is getting angry about it. And of course, there's a lot of things to be angry and outraged about, but this is an issue for me. And this is something that I'm concerned about. And this is something that I want to talk about. So I appreciate all of you that are patient with me in that way and are listening. So of these loans, guys, I have several of them. This is just one loan, $15,000.56, including interest. However, during COVID, I was able to pay some of these off. How? Throwing money at them, ridiculous money at them. I had disability benefits through Principal Life Insurance Company. And when I got sick, Principal kicked in. I started receiving disability benefits. And thanks to that, we were able to get through COVID. But what I also did with that money was I started paying off my student loans. I started sending Anything that wasn't a healthcare expense or the rent, whatever was left over, I sent to my student loans, just throwing money at them. And as a result, I was able to pay off some of these in full. So out of the 13 that I counted, 5 are paid in full. So 13 minus 5 means I have 8 student loans left. Okay, and these are Grad Plus loans, folks. These accumulate interest very quickly. And as you know, when you're on an income-based repayment plan, if you're only paying, like I was, $150 a month on each loan, your payment is not enough to cover your principal. You're not even getting to the principal. You're not even paying enough to cover the interest. When I owed $227,000, it was costing me $33 a day to have my loan outstanding with the U.S. Department of Education. What does that mean? The U.S. Department of Education is charging me, or was charging me, $33 a day until I finished paying off my loan. That's how much they were making. And they're only making that on me. So imagine how many people owe student loans. It's out of control. So anyway, today, what do I owe? $169,005.43. Last year, I paid a total of around $37,000 off in my student loans, taking advantage of that zero interest. So I owe $169,000, but I'm realizing that if I don't take a more active role, I could be stuck in a very bad situation for a long time, right? Especially when it comes to student loans. And this is a very hot topic. So I think if I'm going to talk about this issue ever, it has to be now. In Connecticut, Congressman Joe Courtney, I actually met him at a luncheon sponsored by the Eastern Connecticut Chamber of Commerce. I found him to be very down to earth. And I asked questions about student loan reform, and they were very directed questions. He was very open to my thoughts. He was welcoming of my sentiments. You know, I told Congressman Joe Courtney that, you know, at the rate we're going, we're not going to see many more Black, Latino, medical professionals, lawyers, social workers, teachers, anyone who needs to borrow student loans to become a licensed professional. You can forget about that. He empathized with me, and he understood what I was talking about. Fast forward, July 27, 2023, there was a press release. You can see it on courtney.house.gov. Representative Courtney and Senator Welsh, a Democrat from Vermont, introduced legislation to lower the cost of college for current and future borrowers, the Student Loan Interest Elimination Act. Now, the purpose of this act is to refinance the interest for federal student loans for current borrowers. So people like me, we would be able to refinance our student loans down to 0%. And cap rates for future borrowers, I believe, to 4%. So I don't have the legislation in front of me, but I'm just kind of summarizing from what I'm reading from Congressman Joe Courtney's website. And so I wanted to make this video to champion and to bring this legislation to your attention, because this is very important legislation, especially for those who think that these loans are just going to go away. Folks, these loans are not going to go away. We have to pay these back. We agreed to pay these back. We signed contracts, loan contracts that said we had to pay these back. And unfortunately, politicians like President Biden and others have ensured that these loans don't get discharged in bankruptcy, right? So we cannot rely on the government to solve our problems, right? We hope that they will, but we can't depend on that. But I think this is a very important step in the right direction. I think we're getting better. And if we can get some support behind this bill, which again, I need to read more in depth and understand what maybe some of the caveats might be, some of the risks might be. But we need to stand behind this bill. And we need to call our congressmen in our states. We need to text about it, tweet about it. Sorry, no more Twitter. We need to X about it. We need to put it on all our social media platforms, right? We need to champion and make a lot of noise about the Student Loan Interest Elimination Act. Again, it will allow us to refinance the interest on our federal student loans for existing borrowers, people like you and me that still owe a lot of money, to 0%.